At some point in life, everyone reaches a moment they don't talk about. A quiet moment, late at night, phone glowing in the dark, mind heavy, heart tired. You tell yourself, tomorrow I'll change, but tomorrow comes and nothing changes. The addiction is still there, the fear is still there, and that voice inside keeps asking one painful question. Is this really all my life is going to be? This story begins right there, not with success, not with motivation quotes, but with a human being who feels stuck. Someone who once had dreams, energy, and confidence, but slowly lost control to habits they never planned to have. Addiction doesn't always look dramatic. Sometimes it looks like scrolling for hours. Sometimes it looks like substances, distractions, or behaviors used just to escape pain. And over time, it steals focus, discipline, self-respect, and hope. This isn't just a story about quitting an addiction. It's about restarting your life when you feel broken. It's about self-improvement when motivation feels dead. It's about personal growth when your past keeps pulling you backward. The main theme is simple but powerful. No matter how far you've fallen, change is still possible. Our character isn't special, no superpower, no perfect background, just someone who reached a breaking point. A moment when the pain of staying the same became greater than the fear of change. That moment is where transformation begins. That's where discipline is born. That's where the journey of addiction recovery truly starts. But here's the truth most people won't tell you. Restarting your life isn't dramatic at first. There are no cheers, no instant confidence, just small decisions made in silence while temptation is still loud. Every step forward feels heavy. Every relapse feels like failure. And the biggest enemy isn't the addiction itself. It's the belief that you're too weak to win. This story will challenge the way you see success, habits, and mindset. It will force you to question what's really holding you back. Because the addiction is only the surface. Underneath it is fear, avoidance, and unresolved pain. And right when it feels like change might finally happen, something unexpected appears. A choice that could either break everything completely or become the turning point that changes life forever. That's where this story pauses, and what happens next will decide everything. After that pause, life doesn't suddenly slow down. It keeps moving, even when the mind feels frozen. Days blur together, following the same routine. Wake up tired, promise change, fall back into the same habit. The addiction feels familiar, almost comforting, even though it's slowly draining everything. Energy is low, focus is broken, confidence feels like a memory from another life. This is the part no one posts about, the messy middle where self-improvement feels impossible and motivation comes and goes like a weak signal. There was a time when things felt different, a time before the habit took control. Dreams felt closer then, goals had shape. The future didn't feel like a closed door. But little by little, excuses replaced discipline, comfort replaced effort, and without realizing it, life started shrinking. Friends drifted away, opportunities were ignored. The addiction didn't arrive overnight. It grew quietly, feeding on stress, loneliness, and avoidance. That's how it traps you, not with force, but with familiarity. Inside, there's a constant battle. One voice says, "You've already messed up too much." Another whispers, "What if you still have time?" That second voice is soft, almost easy to ignore, but it doesn't disappear. It shows up during long walks, sleepless nights, and moments of regret. It asks uncomfortable questions about purpose, discipline, and what a restarted life could actually look like. The fear isn't just about quitting the addiction. It's about facing life without the escape, about feeling everything again, about responsibility, about failure. Because if you truly try and still don't succeed, what does that say about you? That fear keeps most people stuck, repeating the same cycle while pretending everything is fine. Then something small happens. Not dramatic, not motivational, just a moment that feels different. A realization that the cost of staying the same is getting heavier. The question is no longer, can I change, but what happens if I don't? And that question doesn't go away. It follows every decision, every habit, every excuse, waiting for an answer. That question starts changing everything. It sits quietly in the background, even during moments of distraction. The addiction no longer feels harmless. Every time the habit shows up, there's awareness now, a pause, a sense of guilt mixed with fear. The comfort is still there, but it's weaker, and in its place grows something unfamiliar: responsibility. That's where the real conflict begins, not between the person and the addiction, but between the present self and the future self they're scared to become. From the outside, nothing looks different. Work continues. Conversation stays shallow. People assume everything is normal. But inside, the pressure builds. Self-improvement videos get watched late at night, not for motivation, but for reassurance that change is possible. Stories of addiction recovery feel inspiring and terrifying at the same time, because if others could restart their life, then excuses start losing their power. There's also another struggle no one sees: the fear of losing identity. When addiction has been part of daily life for so long, who are you without it? What fills the empty space? Discipline sounds good in theory, but discipline requires facing boredom, discomfort, and silence. And silence is where old regrets live. That's why the habit keeps calling back, offering escape instead of growth. Friends unknowingly test the resolve. Casual jokes, old routines, invitations that seem harmless but pull toward the same patterns. Saying no feels awkward. Saying yes feels like betrayal. Each choice feels heavy, like it matters more than it should. Personal growth demands change, but change risks isolation, and that fear cuts deep. Then there's the voice of doubt, sharper now. It points out past failures, the broken promises, the times motivation faded after a few days. It asks, what makes this time different? There's no clear answer yet, only a growing discomfort with staying the same. And somewhere between temptation and discipline, between comfort and progress, a line is forming. It's thin, fragile, and easy to cross. The next decision could strengthen it or erase it completely. As the days pass, the tension grows heavier. Every morning feels like standing at the edge of a decision that can't be avoided much longer. The addiction pushes harder now, almost aware that its control is being questioned. Triggers appear everywhere: stress, boredom, small frustrations that once went unnoticed now feel amplified. The mind looks for comfort, while another part of the mind demands discipline. This constant pull drains energy, making even simple tasks feel exhausting. Sleep becomes restless, thoughts loop endlessly. What if this attempt at self-improvement fails like the others? What if restarting life is just another lie to feel better for a moment? At the same time, there's a quiet shift happening. Small actions begin to matter more. Waking up a little earlier, choosing silence over distraction, sitting with discomfort instead of escaping it. These moments don't feel heroic, but they feel real, and that makes them scary. The fear of relapse hangs over everything. One wrong decision could undo weeks of effort. The pressure to get it right becomes intense. Motivation rises and falls, but the stakes feel higher now. This isn't about productivity anymore. It's about identity, about whether this person becomes someone who keeps promises or someone who keeps running. Outside voices start creeping in, opinions, doubts, well-meaning advice that doesn't understand the internal war. Everyone has a suggestion, but no one feels the weight of the choice being made every hour. Addiction recovery looks simple from the outside. From the inside, it feels like walking a tightrope with no safety net. Then comes the moment that tests everything, a situation that hits at the weakest point. Familiar, tempting, and perfectly timed. The kind of moment that has ended every past attempt at change. The The heart races, the mind negotiates, just this once, just to breathe. Time seems to slow down. This decision won't just affect today, it will decide the direction of life moving forward. Comfort or growth, escape or discipline. And as the hand reaches toward the familiar, everything is about to change. Just as the decision hangs in the air, something unexpected interrupts the moment. Not a dramatic event, not a miracle, but a reminder from the past that hits harder than temptation itself. A message, a memory, a reflection of who this person used to be before addiction quietly took over. It shakes the confidence of the old habit and forces the mind to hesitate. That hesitation becomes dangerous because it opens the door to thought, and thought leads to truth. The second conflict begins there. It's no longer just about quitting an addiction, it's about facing the damage it caused. Missed chances, broken trust, time that can't be recovered. The weight of those realizations feels heavier than any craving. Self-improvement suddenly stops being about success and starts being about responsibility. And responsibility doesn't offer comfort, it demands action. The past starts pushing back. People resurface, situations resurface, not to help, but to test. Old environments feel smaller now, yet harder to leave. There's pressure to stay the same, to play the role everyone expects. Change threatens the balance of familiar relationships. Personal growth often does that. When one person tries to restart their life, it forces others to confront their own choices, and not everyone is ready for that. Inside, another fear grows. What if quitting the addiction doesn't fix everything? What if discipline and habits improve, but the emptiness remains? That thought is unsettling. It challenges the belief that addiction is the only problem. Maybe it was just a shield. Removing it means standing unprotected in front of unresolved emotions. That realization makes the urge to escape stronger than before. At the same time, a new sense of awareness sharpens. Every choice now feels permanent. There's no pretending anymore, no blaming circumstances. This is addiction recovery in its raw form, where excuses don't survive and truth becomes unavoidable. The mind searches for certainty, but none appears. Only a narrow path forward, unclear and uncomfortable. And then the pressure peaks. Two futures stand side by side, one familiar, safe and empty, the other uncertain, demanding and terrifying. There's no sign pointing the right way, no guarantee of success, just a single moment, heavy with consequence, where action can no longer be delayed. Whatever happens next won't just define this struggle, it will redefine identity itself. And once that step is taken, there will be no turning back. The moment finally arrives, quiet but heavy. The familiar temptation is right there, closer than ever. But this time, something is different. There's no negotiation, no internal debate stretched over hours, just a clear decision made in a single breath. The hand pulls back, not because the craving disappeared, but because something stronger took its place. Self-respect. The realization that restarting life doesn't begin with feeling ready. It begins with acting despite fear. The addiction loses its power in that moment. Not completely, but enough. The cycle breaks. Discipline steps in, shaky but real. The conflict that once felt impossible finally finds direction. This is addiction recovery in its rawest form. Imperfect, uncomfortable, but honest. The future self that once felt distant now feels possible. Not guaranteed, but possible. And that changes everything. Relief follows, but it's brief, because the twist arrives quietly. The victory doesn't feel dramatic. There's no rush of happiness, no instant confidence, just a strange emptiness. And then the truth hits. Quitting the addiction was never the finish line, it was the starting point. The real challenge is learning how to live without escape, how to build habits, purpose, and personal growth from scratch. That realization is unsettling, but empowering. The story doesn't end with success, it begins with responsibility. because restarting your life isn't about one powerful moment. It's about choosing again tomorrow and the day after that. And as the screen fades, one question remains unanswered. Will this strength last when no one is watching? The days that follow aren't perfect, but they're real. Small habits replace old ones. Discipline grows slowly through daily effort, not motivation. The addiction no longer defines identity, even though the urge still visits. What changes is the response. Personal growth becomes a process, not a promise. Restarting life now means choosing progress over comfort again and again. The future isn't certain, but it's finally honest. And that's the lesson. Freedom doesn't come from one decision, but from many quiet ones made when no one is watching. Thank you for watching the video. Please subscribe to my channel.